Very welcome. Happy to be here. Happy to present, talking about things that I love. And what I love is data modeling. I'm doing it for Genesee Academy for, I think I always have to count back. I think since 2013. Yeah, something like that. So a long time working
Wow.
together with Hans Hultgren since 2008. So it's a long time. Having lots of fun, having for some customers. Did more and more and more data vault trainings, and I think the last 4 or 5 years I'm completely on what we call ensemble logical modeling, and thinking about how to get from a given business case to a business model. As data modelers, you probably also always had, okay, we have a business case, and then we are talking about the business case, and voila, we got a business model. But there are steps in between, and it should be logical, and there should be a normal reason how to get from a given business case towards the data model. And that's where my interest is lying, and that's why I was thinking about how can I get a structured way to help my organizations I work with, to help consultants and team members to know, hey, we have to think about our business case. We have to connect with people from the organization who know the organization, know how the organization runs, and go from there towards, in the end, what's going to be a data model. And ensemble logical modeling, I'm going to have some slides on ensemble logical modeling, what it is, etc., is helping me and helping organizations to keep it as simple as we can. And that indeed is the hard part. I too often see people creating very complex data models, also in third normal form, in dimensional. I've seen them all. And I was always thinking about, why do we make it so complex? And the reason is it's easy to create a complex model. It's very, very hard work to keep it simple. But I hope during the next hour or so that with the steps I'm providing and explaining, that you can see, hey, there is at least a guided and structured, documented way to go to a certain level of logical modeling. And of course, it's perfectly fit to go into a data vault or whatever. But you could also use it for third normal form or dimensional or any kind of modeling. It helps you to communicate. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, so what's my goal? My goal is to use a structured and guided method. And it should be business driven. And I know everybody's always talking about business driven. It should be business driven. We have to have the business. And then when you look at it, everything people do, oh, by the way, give me the data models of your source systems. And then I'm going to create the big data model for my warehouse and BI system. That's not business driven. Business driven is really talking to people, knowing the organization, within the organization, and asking them questions. You know, the simple questions: who, what, where, when, all the fun 6, 7, 8 W's you can get. I also think it's very important that it's a path you walk, and you walk it together. Business and IT need to together, step by step by step, go from what is my business case? Do I understand the business? Do I understand what I'm talking about? Towards the data model. Also means that the data model should be explainable and easy to understand for people not in IT. Well, of course, that's why we need to keep it simple and clear, etc., etc. Another thing is, and yes, I've been a data modeler for some time. I've been doing engineering before that, reports, data warehousing, etc. The thing I didn't like never was documenting. And of course, everybody says documenting is the very important part. And of course, we have to be agile and flexible. Howard, I see that you raise your hand.
Yeah, Renko, we always have this discussion with so many people as to using a new language or using a new set of UML or whatever it is in terms of being able to get the business to understand. And it's a difficult one in terms of and I face this a lot when I go into customers, when I go into businesses, their offices. I see process models. I see a lot of that, but I very rarely see a data model. or a data estate, or a high level representation. And it's almost like we can't get it right. We're not able to get those communication at the right level so that business will hold on to it, and this will be something that covers the walls, and wherever people need to go, they can go to.
Yeah, I get it, and I think I've seen the same. I've seen people. Well, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to get the business involved, and what we do, we think about, oh, let's do UML, do whatever, because that they understand. It's easier, and we have to introduce a new language to the business people to help them understand us. And I think it should be the other way around. I think from a more perspective, we should do something to understand the business, instead explaining to the business, oh, dear business, if you're talking this language, we can understand you. And I think that's, well, I'm very convinced that what we come up with Elm and the ensemble logical modeling and the artifacts, is that's just the point what we're trying to do. We tried, that's why I'm saying we're trying to walk the path together. I'm not going to ask the business to learn something new. My data modeling tool I'm using in workshops are post-its on a whiteboard. And the reason why, because everybody can write a word on a post-it and put it on a whiteboard. You don't have to be highly educated, IT-driven, whatever, techie stuff. And of course, everything being online now, I'm using something like Miro or Jamboard or that kind of stuff. Yeah. Also, don't boil the ocean. Of course, be agile, be flexible. Start with a simple area of concern, subject area. Start there and move from there. I think that's no new thing to go forward. One reason why not source driven. If this is my warehouse, I'm having CRM system, accounting, HR, ERP system, logistics. I have all kind of systems coming in. Oh, and by the way, I also have a new source system coming in, replacing the old one. It also means that every time, if I'm basing my warehouse model, my BI model, based upon my sources, I constantly need to change my warehouse, because there's so much change going in from a source perspective. Every 3 to 5 years, I get a major update or a source system being replaced in my system. Look at your own organization, look at your customer's organization. How many source systems do they have? If you're based upon source-driven modeling, you're constantly working to get something going on. And also one thing, where can you find customer in this landscape? Well, I have a customer in CRM, I have one in marketing, I have one in sales. Oh, by the way, in sales, we're calling it a client. In logistics, we call it a kunde or a kund, whatever. There are so many places where customers are going to be found. It can't be right, because if I'm looking at it from a business perspective, I see an organization which has some logistic stuff going in, some car driving. We are manufacturing stuff. We are talking with each other. We have some conversations. We have sales. Where's my customer? Well, everyone understand. Hey, there's some person, business, organization, some customer coming in who wants to buy stuff from us. There's my customer. There's only one place from a business perspective. This is the customer. And maybe marketing calls it a client, or accounting call it an account, or whatever. They might have different name, but we know that there is just the one customer, regardless where it's coming in. So it's much easier for us. And we try to talk business language. We're not trying to talk non-business language. So we're trying to keep it as simple as we can. And we're doing it from a business perspective, not a source perspective, making our life a little bit easier. Okay, that's why we do it business-driven instead of source-driven. Just a little bit intro in ensemble logical modeling. And the intro is just a general introduction. I'm going to tell you something about third norm form and dimensional modeling, not saying that these are rubbish or can't be used or whatever, but just to get some general idea where to find what's the ideal work, in my opinion. at least. And looking at the different modeling forms, and there are much more, of course, but when I'm looking at a third normal form, generally I see it as an optimal place in operational systems. Operational systems, most of them are still modeled in third normal form. Why? Very fast in small updates and perfectly fine, very stable tool systems. Same token, from a data mart or BI perspective, it's more and more dimensional modeling. Why? Because they're all based upon, I have some facts and I have some dimensions, the way I look at my facts, which is direct fit on dimensional modeling. And I used to create warehouses based on third normal form or based on dimensional, but they were all just kind of adaptation and it didn't feel very comfortable. And when I found out about ensemble modeling, or I started to find out about Data Vault, and then I said, wait a minute, this is something which I would never ever use if I want to create an ERP system or marketing system. I would never use Data Vault as a modeling pattern. Reason why, it's not suitable for that one. Same place, I would never say I'm going to create a data mart and it's going to be a Data Vault because it's so easy to get the data out again for your reports, because it's not. It is the ideal world to store your data in your data warehouse. Remember, data warehouse, the way I see it, is a place where we store data integrated, non-volatile, subject-oriented, and time-variant. And that's exactly what ensemble modeling is doing, without compromising agility. I think that's the very, very important one. At the same token, within ensemble modeling, Data Vault is by far the pattern everybody knows. But there are 2, 3, 4, 5 other ones which are coming up. Anchor modeling by Lars Rumbeck, great guy, is one of them. Focal Point by Top of Minds in Stockholm, great guys. They're doing also some stuff. All kind of the same basic idea about what we're trying to do with ensemble modeling. And what ensemble modeling is doing, we embrace change. I still remember that I was creating a dimensional warehouse and I had to create the 4th customer dimension. I said, wait a minute, we are doing completely Kimball style data warehousing, dimensional, conform dimensions. Why don't we just adjust one of the existing customer dimensions? And said, yeah, this one for finance and it really is different and it's hard to change an existing dimension. By the way, it is. And I think, wait a minute, this can't be right. I can't be, if everything there's changing, I have to create another dimension because it's easy to have another dimension to it instead of changing it. I'm doing something wrong. That's how I do it with something where I said, it's so easy to make something complex and we have to keep it simple. And reason why dimensional by a third normal form as well is so hard to change is that if there are some changes, it impacts everything. If I have to change something on a dimension, it changes, it has an impact on the whole dimension. And what we're trying to do is to separate things that are changing from things that are non-changing. And to give you already some head start, non-changing information are identifiers, business keys. They are non-changing information. They are. The relationship between business keys are. They're non-changing. The only way how we look at it or describe it, that's changing information. So separating out identifiers, relationships, and context attributes make your life a whole lot easier. That's what you're trying to reach. Just a quick one. What we're trying to do is, because of course we know you cannot just say, you know what, we're going to separate the hell out of it. So we need to do something, and that's what we call unified decomposition. Boyce and Cott learned us long time ago that everything needs to be dependent on the key. That's why everything is in the same table, right? We have one key and everything on the same record is depending on the key. It's easy enough. That's what we do in third normal form. We do it in dimensional. We also do it in ensemble modeling. The only thing what we do is we say, yeah, but you know what? We're going to make our life easier. We're going to separate out the key in its own construct and the relationships and the context. And at the same token, we are still looking at it as a whole. Everything is still depending on the key. The only thing is that the key is stored somewhere else. The business key, the identifier is stored somewhere else. That's what we try to do. Okay, the three major forms of ensemble modeling: anchor modeling, focal point model, and data vault modeling. If you look at it, every modeling pattern within ensemble modeling, they're all based on something we called core business concept and NBR, natural business relationships. And core business concept are those things important for an organization. How do we know? We ask them. What is important for you as an organization? And they probably come up with something like our customers, our employees, our stores, our sales, that kind of stuff. Wait a minute, if this is important, those are your core business concept. And natural business relationship, how they belong to each other, how they relate to each other from a business perspective. So you disregard the source systems as long as we can. We need to have a source, of course, but as long as we can, we disregard them and just say, okay, this is the way how the business tells us they relate to each other. Anchor modeling, they store the instance of the core business concept, the identifiers in the anchors. Focal point modeling, they're stored in the focals, and in data vault, we store the identifier, the instance of the core business concept in what we call a hub. The relationships in anchor modeling, it's in ties. In focal point modeling, it's called links, and in data vault, it's also called links. And now we have the fun part, because everything is based on core business concept and natural business relationship. The only difference between the modeling patterns is how we are treating the attributes. How do we look at the context? And if you are talking to Lars Rombeck, he says, you know what, data vault is a very destructive data model. Whenever there's something coming in, you have to change it. And that's true, we do have some changes we need to impact. And he says, I don't have any change in my anchor modeling. Reason why, every attribute has going to be stored in its own table, and he calls it an attribute table. I say, if you have an SAP source system with a table with 286 columns, if you go for anchor modeling, you get 287 tables. That's a lot. And I see your question, hand, Howard, I'll come back to you after my last part. And focal point modeling, we said, you know what? We are kind of grouping the attributes. We have geographical information we store together. We have metric information stored together, and et cetera, et cetera. It's more like we are prescribing how you want to have your attributes stored. And in data vault model, we say there's an architect, and he, she, it knows the best way to model these attributes, what belongs together, probably together with the business people. So it's more like an art form. So we are more freely in data vault modeling than in focal point or in anchor modeling. Yes, Howard.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand a little bit in terms of your diagram. We have anchor modeling, and then on the far right, you've got your temporal and 6 normal form.
Yeah.
Is anchor modeling that deals with that as well, doesn't it?
It does deal with it as well, but it's really anchor modeling is closely related to 6 normal form, as is data vault, by the way, but it's not completely the other way around. So there are some extra rules to it on anchor modeling, which making it not temporal, 6 normal form, etc.
Doesn't the anchor modeling also have the history elements to it, and that has the knots, plus it also has the historize, so it has the ability to have the temporal. Or am I oversimplifying?
No, they absolutely, they are. I always say, if you really want to, you have a big issue with temporal stuff, and so you have to store, not so much bitemporal, but really multi-temporal information. Anchor modeling easily get that in. So all they have all that information. They also have something called posits.
Yes.
Posits are very cool. It's on the relationship. You could say, I'm 100% sure that Renko is doing a presentation now. And I could also say, well, for my part, I'm not so sure that Renko is doing it, so I'm only 50% sure or 6% sure. So there's some kind of, or the other way around, I'm 100% sure he did not present. So that posits are really baked into anchor modeling, and I'm not sure. I'm probably it's not in temporal or signal form.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that where you said the attributes are held in descriptor tables by type? So is that almost like one of those patterns that Simpson did, where you almost have the as a table, if it's going to have so many different bill of materials, it's going to have so many different attributes, you'd have like a string and a integer and is that what you mean by descriptor tables?
Well, it is a combination of key value pair
Okay.
kind of style with some more attributes to it. It's it is a kind of combination with different parts, but it has some. I think there are some which are really 100% key value pair descriptor tables. Other ones are just tables with just attributes just next to each other because they're not changing and they're just fixed. So
Okay.
they are mixing it up a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
I always refer to focal point as a data vault with a very strict way of how to store your attribution.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And the same token, by the way, is for anchor modeling. They have a very strict way to store. Well, there's the temporal effect next to it.
Yeah.
But it's very, very interesting. And Lars is a great, if you're looking for a presenter, Lars Rumbeck, perfect guy to present on this one.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What do we model in Ensemble logical model? And this is where getting close to my to do the artifacts we're going. We model, we call core business concept. What is important for the organization? Then we're looking at event, person, thing, place, other concept. Organization is kind of optional. You can add it if you want to, or you could just say an organization is just something referred to as a person. Don't think these are the terms where the abstracted terms, but it's just more like a categorization. I have an employee is a person. I have a sale is an event. I have a product or a book, and a book is a thing. So it's more like a categorization thing, not an abstraction. We also model context and history, all descriptive attributes. And there's a changing context over time, and we have some classifications, so customer group or a product category, that kind of stuff, or status changing. So is your order being fulfilled, yes or no, that kind of stuff. It's all descriptive information on a core business concept with some specific information about it, how we want, and that's what we want to keep. And last but not least, what we call natural business relationships, NBRs, and they need to be unique and specific natural business relationships. And they're all based upon what the business is telling us, how the things are coming together. And looking at from a data perspective, we have an ensemble. So the event, person, thing, that the core business concept is identifying the ensemble, and the identifier of the ensemble being stored in the hub. The context history is what we store in what we call satellites, and we design them as modelers, how we want to have them. And of course, the relationships are going to be stored in links. And I told you before, separating changing and non-changing information, a hub and a link. So the identifier of the core business concept and the natural business relationship are non-changing information. The only thing was changing is satellite information, context and history. For instance, if I went to the store yesterday and I bought a couple of items, I identified myself as a loyal customer, I will always be that customer, or at least that identifier would always be there. I might change my name. I might want to move house or whatever. I'm not no longer a customer. But at a certain moment in time, there was an identifier identifying me as a customer. Also, I have a relationship from yesterday with a particular store, a particular employee, and particular products I bought. That relationship is there. Even if I just was unhappy with one of the products I bought and returned the product, it's still on Sunday afternoon at a certain time. Renko was in the particular store and he bought some post-its and some markers and some whatever from Joe. That is not going to change ever. that Joe is going to be fired because he was rubbish, or going to be promoted to be a manager, being positive, of course. I'm going to move house or whatever. All can change, but the fact that I was in a relationship with Joe for Marcus and Post-it yesterday, Sunday afternoon, is not going to change. The only thing is changing is the way we're describing it and look at it. That's the only thing. And that's very important to understand. Yeah? Okay. How do we get there? Because it's easy enough to say, yeah, this is what it is. This is how we get there. Well, everything what you do should be interactive. Don't try to do everything at once. Don't try to do it alone. A data model is not a person who should be sitting down in a small shed, like I am at the moment, on his own and not talking to other people. And just after a couple of days, weeks, months, hard work, here's your data model. Absolutely not. It's interactive. We should do agile. It should be fun. And that's why we have Elm workshops. And the workshop we are doing is a workshop we do together with business people. And what we want to do is that everybody in the workshop must be heard. And everything what we do, we make notes out of it, we give feedback, and people must say, yeah, I recognize what you were saying. I was talking about a client, and I see that in what you did, one of the artifacts or multiple artifacts, I see client on it. So yeah, cool. They listen to me. Same token, we document on the go. And most important, don't make it feel like a data modeling workshop. I tried in my younger and ignorant years, tried to get some people together, say, hey, I want you all together. And I knew I was need to talk to the business people because I want to do a data modeling workshop. Not sure about your experience. My experience was that I was sitting there alone with a bunch of donuts, because I was also forgetting to mention that I was bringing donuts. And I was sitting there because people from the business, people from the organization do not want to go into a data modeling workshop because it seems like, well, we have to learn a new language or we have to do something which we're not comfortable with. You know what? It's more important to just go and work. So I always, since then, always mention, hey, and I bring donuts. So at least physically they come and join. And the other one is, I'm not going to tell them I'm doing a data modeling workshop. I'm just going to say, hey, and that's the cool part in my role. I always coming in new and being asked for, said, I need to do something for your organization. I want to learn your organization. Can you come together from some managers, some people from the same department or different departments, and would you please tell me what you're doing within this organization? I need to understand. And oh, by the way, I have donuts. Still helps. So how does it work? Well, let's try it, of course. If this is just a simple sales example, I see I'm inside a shop. That's my window, shop window. So on the outside, you see it's called our store. Always cool. I have a customer. I have books. I have a sale. I have an employee. All the cool stuff. In other words, you can translate this one to say the business case is an employee in the store is selling products to a customer. This on the right is my Ensemble logical model. And you can see all the same words and all the same stuff. You can see it in it. And if you're experienced data modeler, you could already see, yeah, it seems like it's there. But what is the road to get there? Well, the first thing is just to get the business case. Employee store selling products to a customer. There it is. What I do in a workshop, I'm just asking questions: who, what, where, what is going on? What is your department responsible for? Who's doing what, etc., etc. And everything what I'm hearing a verb or a noun. I'm just going to write it down. So I'm writing down employee, store, selling, products, customer. This is my first step in my data model. And I never heard anybody from a business perspective saying this feels like data modeling, because it doesn't. It's just they're telling me a story and I'm just writing down all the verbs and nouns I'm hearing. And then I'm going to say, you know what? I need your help. Can you tell me if it's an event, it's something to be categorized as an event, or a person, or a place, or a thing, or maybe something else, or an organization? I say, yeah, sure. Why not? Employee, that's a person, store, place, selling, event, product, thing, customer, person. This is the first artifact within ensemble logical modeling. It still doesn't feel like really like data modeling, but this is very important because remember, a couple of slides back, what we're doing in ensemble logical modeling, we are looking for core business concepts. Core business concepts are the event, person, place, thing, other concept, organizations, which are important for the organization. So now I know at least that in our organization we have employees. I'm not going to ask where can I find an employee, because there are probably 20 different source systems where I can see something about an employee. I only want to know I have an employee at the moment in time. And then in the end, from step to step to step to step, I got the model. And these two parts on the top are my main documentation part. But these are the small steps I'm going to take. And I'm going to enlarge them later on. Don't worry about that one. But these are all my artifacts. So you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different artifacts before I go to my data model. And all these steps, only the last part, when I have everything filled in, I can say, okay, here's my data model, at least for the subject area, for the part when I'm working in. Also, I found very, very important, because when you're doing a workshop, when you're trying to ask to people what is going on in your organization, what's it about? People saying, yeah, we have a building, and the building is on a property, and a property, whatever. And someone else said, yeah, you know, we have properties and we rent them out. It's just like the room we're having. So you hear synonyms and homonyms and words being used with each other or through each other, and everybody gives it its own meaning, which is very hard when you want to model what is important for the organization. That's one of the things. So what I try to do is just making some drawings, and my drawings are pretty stupid most of the times. These are real life from 2 different customers drawings I did during a workshop, but it helps me. The one with the building and properties and rooms and units and that kind of stuff is this example over there. And there you see already, by just in my own words and thinking, mind thinking, wait a minute, what's the building? Is this the building? So the big one, or is it just the green part over there? Do you call that a building? What's the property? Is it including the ground it stands on? Yes or no? But by having a drawing like this during your workshop, it will help people to understand and explain what they mean. Also come up with different names, which is kind of cool. So this kind of stuff keeps also the business involved. And I'm looking very, very much forward to, because I did this in my shed, because I did an online online workshops. I'm looking forward to do this one on a nice room with a big whiteboard on it and have people drawing themselves. Okay. Artifact 1, based upon everything I'm hearing, I'm going to just write down everything I'm hearing. Customer, sale, product, store, employee, count, coffee, book, client, supplier, delivery, command, whatever. The thing over and over when I'm doing this, and I'm doing training on this one, or I'm doing a workshop, and especially with the more IT-driven people, when they come to, wait a minute, we have customer, sale, product, store, employee, count. Wait a minute, a count and a customer is the same. So you know what? I'm not going to write down count, but because it's just a customer. Oh, client is also added. You know what? It's also a customer. Coffee and book. Well, they're just products. So then I'm going to disregard words, names that people are using in the workshop. And think for yourself, if you're sitting in a meeting and someone is taking notes and only half of what you are saying, or maybe even less of what you're saying, is to be found back in the notes, are you still going to next meeting or discuss more or not? My guess is you're probably not coming in again. Reason why? Because you're using words and you're using names and you're telling something and people are just disregarding it. Because, of course, let's look at product, coffee, and book. Coffee and book are products, but if someone is telling me at a higher level, yeah, we're selling products, etc. Yeah, but in our bookstore we sell books and we have coffee corner where we have coffee and all they're talking about because it's their life. It's all about books and coffee. I'm not going to model product. I'm going to model book and coffee. If I'm going to disregard that books and coffee are so important for them, I'm probably not going to be working for that customer again, or they're not going to ask me back again. Why? Because I'm disregarding what I'm saying. Of course, we will find later on one of the other artifacts that we can use product as a higher level and book and coffee as a lower level. We have synonyms or hierarchies, whatever. But we as a group within a workshop or a couple of workshops, we need to decide together with the business. Yeah, you know what? We are talking about a Kunt and a client and a customer, but you know what? Let's use customer for our warehouse and our reports because it makes more sense than Kunt and client and customer differently. They're all the same, only because my stupid source system is giving me client instead of customer. But it's a discussion. Okay, so that was artifact one. It's just writing down and categorizing what's there and what we have. Because everything you want to model, there should be some kind of an event in. Because an event makes things happening. Probably also some persons, places, things. Yeah, but events should be in. Very important ones. My next one is what I call the CBC canvas. The only reason what I'm doing is doing this one is because it's now if I have 81 different core business concepts on my list, it's very hard to see. Yeah, you know what? I have a person on line 1, a person on line 10, a person on whatever. Are they the same? Yes, no. But they are going to be very far apart. So it will help to put them together, especially on post-its, to say, oh, you know what? I'm just going to have all my events, write it down on a post-it and put it over there in my event column. Person the same, etc. And if I found out that in my discussion, hey, I see a customer, a Kunt, and a client, but they're all the same. The cool thing on physical post-its, you can just tape them on top of each other and have customer on the top one. And still you have customer, client and Kunt below customer, so you can still look after them. Of course, on a digital board, it's a little bit harder to do so, but that's what we're trying to do. So this is just a small step, and always people try to avoid a small step. I always say, don't do it because otherwise you're making your life harder later on. It's a small step just to help you to say, is this core business concept the same as the other one? Yes or no? Are we complete? The third one is the CBC form. This is my documentation one. And what you will see, well, of course, apart from some metadata, I see some kind of recognition. Hey, it's something to do with person, the name of the core business concept, customer, and a small definition. I'm not looking like for the master data management definition because I'm doing data warehousing and not master data management. And I also want to be ready in, well, let's say a couple of weeks' time instead of a couple of years' time. So in this case, the definition is just good enough to identify what a customer is. And it says here a natural person who's buying products, could be books or coffee in our store. We know who our customer is because they all use our loyalty card. So it's a very small definition. So it's a customer, it's a natural person, so it cannot be a company. And we know who it is. We have an identifier because it's a loyalty card. If someone comes in and buys something without a loyalty card, it's not a customer because it's not referring to the same definition. Easy enough. Which subject area can it be found? Sales, CRM, main attribution, name and address for whatever, identifying information, loyalty card number plus country name because we are international, so country name should be there. It's related to a store, a product, employee, sale and delivery. Oh, by the way, I have some synonyms. Kund and client are synonyms for customer, which is kind of cool. Could be something on a higher level, could be even a lower level, some kind of hierarchy we could put in. Cool enough. And we have a lot of attributes over there. And is it an identifier? So this is more free form, well, not free format, but we need to identify all the attributes. This is homework most of the time. And the cool thing on the templates I'm having, and everybody doing the training will get the templates for, well, I would say for free, but then again, you're doing the training, so it's not so much free. It's combined with this part. And if I click on Kund, because it's a synonym for customer, I will jump to this page immediately. And I was clicking on Kund from my CBC list, and I'm coming into it and say, oh, wait a minute. I was clicking on Kund. I see I'm coming now back to customer. Oh, this is the same what the Kund is. Oh, there it is. Kund is also a synonym. So this is the way helping me and helping my customers to have all the names and not trying to disregard any names, because we are not saying, well, you know what, we're not going to use the old name. We're only going to use customers. I have all the old names as well. And if people are still using the old names because in their department they are using client because they are sales and or their delivery, whatever, instead of the rest of the organization, they still pop up, come to the same old information. That's kind of cool. Yeah. If organizations do have some master data management initiative going on or a business glossary or whatever, of course, that information is very helpful as a starting point to fill in more information over here. But we all have to agree on this one. Yes, Howard.
Sorry to ask all these questions, but it seems quite nice that you can start off with almost the CBC list with the events, like all your core elements, and then you can drill down to that, and then you can drill down here. But I'm assuming these where you got the green box with related CBCs and related events, that probably comes in at a different level, and that would then fill this area over here. So a lot of it may have come from which part of the process populates that?
Well, it is the only way I know this information because someone is telling me that one.
Okay.
So it's not being populated. It really it's all what you see over here. My templates are this one are Excel based.
Okay.
There's no product involved, and the reason why I don't want to do a product on this one, because productizing something is a very different job, and that's not my job. And when I always tell people when they do the training and they get the templates, these are templates we are using, and you can use them and adjust them what you want to do. If you want to use them in a product or productize them, well, they're not going to productize them as they are exactly here because they are our propriety. They are our intellectual property, of course, but they can play with it and can use it. Marco Wobbe within Case Talk is implementing some parts of what we are having in his own tool. Bimmelflex is using some of the artifacts or some part of the artifacts in Bimmelflex.
Okay.
Thank you. So, yeah. Okay. So this is CBC form. This is where we have our really documentation part, the really documentation part, which you're going to use and to store, and everybody should be able to be there. So the first three artifacts, what we're having, that's the overview up here, all about core business concept. And there's always a start. Just list them down, categorize them, and here you can always see customer, Kund, client, whatever. Product, book and coffee. Apparently, that's kind of a hierarchy, just trying to put them together. And this is just my version of my CBC canvas or form where I'm writing down everything together. Cool enough. Now we come to the part where, because this is, I think it's fun, it's easy, it's not so much mind-blowing, shocking, new, whatever. The new part is what is I never seen before in the way we are doing it, is all about relationships. Because this is what I did long time ago with data vault modeling. We found out, oh, we have to know the business keys or the core business concepts, and then we relate them to each other. And then think, yeah, wait a minute. How do you relate core business concepts to each other? How do you know what to relate to what? And I was thinking, you know what, we have to do something. And this is coming nicely together with towards what we do with BI matrix and the BI stuff, which for dimensional part is saying, let's look at an event, a sale event. Just one event. I'm just taking out one event, and then just also in the workshop with the business people, if I'm looking at a sale event, what are the core business concepts involved with that sale? Well, we have customers, both our employees, which are person, which is taking place in a store, which is displayed, and products. Cool. So now I know that my sale event is related to customer, employee, store, and product. That's very cool. Step by step, all my events are going to be handled like this one. And of course, they're all loose, so I want to have them all in what we call an MBR matrix. Also, this is not the hard part. By the way, this is also the fun part, because here you can also say, oh, by the way, dear data mart group, dear dimensional models, we already defined for you kind of your data marts, because we know this is my event, this is going to be this relationship, this all coming together. The interesting part, the very interesting part, also looking at time, is what we call the MBR form. And the MBR form is nothing more than just from our MBR matrix saying this is my relationship, some kind of definition, and example records. And if I'm looking at, in this case, it was sale products to customers in the store, I'm going to see what's my event relationship. Well, that was a sale, customer, store, employee, and product. And I'm just going to fill in 10 lines of data, just example data. I have sale 501, my customer is Renko, store in Utrecht, employee is Hans, and I bought Moby Dick, newspaper, coffee, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, whatever. When I see from this event this information, I see that I have redundant information. I'm repeating for every book or every product I'm buying, I'm repeating the customer, sales, store, employee information. And in data vault modeling, ensemble modeling, we don't want to have redundant information in our relationship. So what we are doing, we're going to split them out in header information. So I have sale 501, Remco, Utrecht, Hans. Cool. Oh, by the way, on the detail on sale 501, it was Moby Dick, newspaper, coffee, and Hitchhiker's Guide. And I want to describe my line items. I know I need to describe it. So I get that one information as well. There's some other information down here. Don't bother on that one. That's really much if you're on the data vault. Do you need to have a descriptive information? Yes or no? People long time ago, me as well, modeled satellites, context information on relationships. Nowadays, we know, at least from our part, that if you want to describe something, that what you want to describe is important. So it can never be a relationship, because everything is important, is a core business concept. But you need to understand, if it's important, you need to do something. Marida, I see that you are.
Okay, thanks. I want to ask you something. You have talked about the workshops. So my question is, when you have the workshops, you do it with the consumers, the business people, or only IT people?
No. Well, I have IT people in, and IT people are mainly like the business analyst or information analyst, and maybe sometimes some developers or modelers or architects. But those are more need to be a little bit more quiet and need to help me on describing. I was doing this kind of workshop with people from the business doing the day-to-day job, because those are the people, the only people who can tell me how the business runs. At least
so the
yeah.
I mean the data engineers.
I would not. Well, I can have a data engineer in, but most of the time more listening in, or maybe whispering every now and then something about the actual data. But the reason I don't want IT people or data engineers too much involvement, because in my experience, those are also the people also trying to say, oh, you're talking about this one. Let me see how it's being done in the current model or in my source system or whatever. We're going to look at actual data from a source system. And although I want some example records, but these are example records which people can relate to, can come up with it. Because if I did this workshop with data people, and they were looking into the data itself, and then instead of a customer, I got long numbers, and the store also got long numbers, because those were the identifiers, the business key for a customer and a store. And then I just have a sheet in front of me with only numbers, and nobody relates to numbers. So that's why I try to avoid but I try to avoid to have too many data engineers, data IT people in.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, welcome. And by the way, it's the hardest part. It's the hardest part to get business people in instead of IT people, because I also heard people saying, "Yeah, you know what? But instead of talking to me, because you better talk to my business analyst or my data analyst, because he knows everything." Yes, he knows everything on the data, but not on the business.
I asked you this question because I am how do I say, data warehousing business consultant. So I used to work with business people and try to teach them, try to evangelize how they should govern, how they should manage their data. I teach them the meaning of the attributes, the principal data, the entities, no, and the people understand here. But there are very few people, very few business people that really work on that. That's why the data of the systems here in Peru are not good. The quality is bad. So when you want to migrate to, for instance, SAP, Oracle, they have a lot of problems.
Yeah, and that is, of course, there are two sides of this one, right? I can hear and can feel the pain, and can hear the pain, and absolutely, completely true. But my thing is that if I want to create a good model, warehouse model for my business, where I want to store the information, and I'm not going to look at my source system. I try to not to look. I need to talk to people who know how the business is being run. They know their part of the business, and I'm trying to talk in their information.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Good.
So Renko, we have a message, a question from Biothermal.
Yeah.
Hi, Renko. I wanted to find out, so if your business or organization does sales, say, through different methods, perhaps there's over the counter and there's online sales and I don't know,
different channels,
telesales, different channels. Would you model those, or does it not matter how the sale is performed as long as it's a sale?
Well, that's a very, very, very good question. And the only people who can tell me that one are people involved. And if they say, for us, it matters if we have online sales versus in-store sales versus self-checkout, whatever. It's important for us that these are different because we are measuring them different and we're managing them different. Then for us, there are going to be different relationships. And I think, and this is one of the things, by the way, where a lot of, sorry to say, but data vault modelers I know of and long time went wrong. And then they just say, we don't care, we just create a sales type to it, to the relationship, and then we know. And what we are saying, if you're adding some kind of sales type to a relationship, then you have to look at the data to know what it is. And I think what's been said before is that you don't want to look at the data itself. You want to just really easy understand what I'm looking at. So if I'm having an over the counter sale or online sale or whatever, and we see them as different one because they are differently managed or differently handled or whatever, I see them differently. I will model them differently. I will notify them differently. In my MBR matrix, you will see sale product to customer. You would also see an online sale. And my online sale probably also has a sale, has a customer, but not a store, not an employee, a product, maybe some delivery as well, whatever. So my online sale is a different kind of relationship than my in-store sale. And because they are different other business concept involved. It's a different relationship. And the only way to find it out is to discuss, to say, hey, I think I heard or whatever, or my example records, this is what we see. And then some people say, yeah, we don't always know the customer and we don't always know the store because we do also online sales. Well, if we don't know them, that means that we have two different kind of relationships. I model two different relationships. That's not a problem. And the only way to know it is to not only discuss it, but also make it visible. And again, I am not a tool wizard or whatever, but this is just, well, you can see kind of Excel, just type in some example records. And I'm not the first one using example records, first one using it in this way. So here it is. I see example records, I see what's going on, I see what I need to change, and I can change it. And I leave everything, because that's why I'm calling it event relationship, but I leave all the other relationship in, or the original one, that I can see the path I'm walking. And I think that's very important, but everything I'm doing, and that's why I want to have Kunt and client, all my CBC list, etc. as well, because I want the business to see the path we walk together. I think that's really, really is important to understand that if you're skipping a step, because you already know in your head, yeah, this is the way we're going, because I have the experience, whatever, you're losing people on the way. You need to get them on. Yeah, what I want to do, I'm going forward to, I just have a couple slides more, and then I'm going to switch on my camera so you can see me. That's always more fun to discuss. Because the last three artifacts we discussed were all about the natural business relationship. And small step, and here you see, by the way, on the small on the bottom, I'm going, by the way, I'm going to send Howard and Debbie a PDF of the presentation to share, so you will get the information, no worries. But what you see down here, hey, I have a sale product to customer. Oh, I have in-store and an online store, and I have a header and a detail, so I can see what I did over there. So that's a cool thing. So what we are going to do, if you want to go towards the ensemble model, in the end, you want to create a data model. Of course, we are looking at a natural business relationship. We are going to start one. And let's start with, of course, the easy one, the sale header. I have the header, and the header had a store, customer, employee involved. Cool, that's my one relationship. Oh, the next one is the first one, of course. Next one is going to involve the products I bought. So my detail one, products I bought on the sale, and my line item because I need to describe the products I have on the sale. This is the second one. And here you can see that it's completely incremental because whenever I'm doing the detail one, I never ever going to touch what I did before. If I want to say, hey, wait a minute, I want to know in which region or my store is located, and region is something, it's on its own, it's very important, whatever. You know what? I'm just going to add region. And I'm going to make the diamonds, and I'm just going to add it in the next step, in the next whatever. But you see, I'm not going to change anything to the model I already have. My loading is not changing, my reports are not changing, my ETL is not changing, my data is not changing. I'm only adding new stuff. And this is how a good data warehouse model should be. Everything you add should not impact what you already have. Yes, Boitemelo.
Just one question. The green posted note, does that, shouldn't we be writing something in there to show, is it a relationship?
Yeah, there are the links, and they should have a name, of course, in the end. So these are all going to, well, it's a logical model. So the green ones are just a relationship, but those are the links. And you could write something in it. On the other end, a relationship is just tying different core business concepts together. So to keep my life simple when I'm discussing it with a business, I wouldn't put a name in it. And the reason why, because it doesn't make sense. There's nothing to describe it, or it's just saying, oh, this one just saying, yeah, a store, a customer, an employee, and a sale have a relationship.
But just to Renko, I think the Boitemelo brings a big question, especially if you have multiple relationships or different types of relationships that may have maybe a different element over there.
For this one, now the diamond is a new relationship, should also be in green box. Right. Now I have two on sale. I have two different relationships. To clarify it, you could say, oh, by the way, I'm going to call this one online and this one.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, so if you need to clarify it, you can clarify it.
Right. Okay. So when you bring when the relationships are similar but with maybe different attributes or different elements to it, you'd need the identification.
Yeah. Yeah. But most of the time, relationship just are, and you can tell. And again, that's correct. You have to do something with it when there are the same core business concept connect to each other or whatever. You may need to clarify it.
Right.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Makes sense. I've got a follow-up question. Because sales don't happen, on their own. Yes, we're dealing with a sales area, but a sale triggers a financial transaction and there'll be a whole finance model related to it. So how do we bring the two together essentially if, say, I'm wanting to represent, how the sales were done via card transactions. So I want to join the model in my sales environment to the model in the finance environment that'll bring through, the type of payments, etc.
Just like this. Yeah, I have a whole model of a whole finance subject area, and another team can model that one. And I can just say, oh, by the way, from out my finance subject model, this whatever core business concept is related to the sale, and maybe I also have one which is related to the customer in the end. But just separately. Don't try to do everything at once, because every subject area, every part is on its own. And if you say, yeah, but my sale is related to my financial, accounting, whatever going on, well, the only thing I need to know is how to model the financial part and how I need to relate my financial part to my sale. And if I know the relationship, where the relationship is, and I know to model my financial part, that's it. But it doesn't change anything on my sale model or my marketing model or whatever. Just step by step, subject area by subject area, I can just expand my data warehouse model, being agile. I now work for a company, by the way, of probably going to work for a company again in South Africa. And they have what they call squads, and they really are now saying, well, we have a squad on everything on customer. We have another one on sales. We have another one on marketing. And you have another. So all the teams, all the squads are working on their own area and creating their model. And I choose Datavault because they know that whenever a squad is ready with the customer part, the CRM part is completely modeled out, whatever, or they need to extend it, that team knows everything about it. And the only thing they need to discuss, amongst other, is how does a sale relate to a customer? Oh, this is how it relates to it. We create the relationship, done. And that's really, really, really fun to work and to see it working.
So Renko, that's almost similar to what we do with big industry data models, where we operate in a subject area and we may have some links to other subject areas, and we'd have that small representation, but not everything, not all the other elements of that subject area that we're connecting to.
Absolutely. The only thing what I found about industry or reference models, most of the time that they are easily going towards abstraction instead of
Sure.
And,
That is a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about abstraction is that if I'm having something called an involved party, nobody understands what an involved party is. Well, you know, everybody knows what a party is, but the involved party, you have to really look into what kind of type or what kind of stuff it is.
Right. Okay.
Nora.
Hi, Remco. Thank you
Hi,
for
Nora.
a great presentation. It's always good. And I really love your approach. I find it so practical. One question, because I know with the two camps on, I guess, the top-down business-driven approach, and then using the data to also inform perhaps some model decisions, do you at any point look at the source data, or was that then what you were doing an artifact number? Was it 5?
No, well,
6. So with the event relations, where you look at the different relations.
on this one, no, I'm still over here. That's indeed 6. That's the MBR form. You can add which is actually the source of the data or multiple data, but you could, by the way, this for the relationship, but also for the core based concept, you can add it if you want to. But at this moment, I'm really still not looking at my source system. In the end, you need to look to the source system and say, okay, now we need to know where is the customer coming from, which source system is going to provide me the information. Oh, I have multiple ones. How can I integrate those? What's the integration? Of course, there's a whole technical stuff going on, as well as the discussion. I'm going to move to this one again. To this one again. We need to discuss, of course, okay, fine, you have an ensemble logical model, but how are we going to implement it? Are we going to use Datavault, Focal Point, Datavault 2.0, anchor modeling, anchor vault, whatever implementation kind of stuff? You still can decide. And are we going to use automation, yes or no? There's a lot of discussion afterwards. But I think that's the technical part, which is very fun and interesting as well. But at least for now, for this presentation, it's purely about how to get from a business case to the high level ensemble logical model, or the ensemble logical model, which can be translated to, in the end, a physical model and we have data stored into. And of course, you need to look into the data at that moment in time.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, welcome. Moving forward, and really last couple of slides. Training, yes, of course. I'm living and breathing on training. This is, by the way, where you see in Iceland, where I had a nice training with a group of people, and it was pre-corona, so physical, and you see a very rough version on plastified forms and lists and drawings. So we had lots of fun, lots of interactivity. This is what I'm doing, and it's currently at the moment, end of September 27 and 28. I have a training, 2-day training, deep dive with artifacts. So you now saw all 6, but I can discuss I can even discuss more than 2 days about it, but a lot about it. It's a lot of fun. Again, 27, 28. We have some seats available. If you want to have a special deal for it, just ping me, no problem. And well, taking the opportunity. Of course, we have more training. You get the slides, you can see it. A lot on Data Vault, a lot on Elm, and we do everything, whatever you want. And last but not least, some links and information. But again, you will get this information because this will definitely be one of the slides to share. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing for now. I'm going to put my camera back on so you can see me. It's always more fun to discuss questions. Happy to take on questions and all the other stuff you want to know.
Renko, thank you very much. I was just thinking your business case and some of the icons you're using is very similar to what Lawrence Core does with the beam analytics. Yeah. Okay. So it's almost telling a storyline, and I think the thread with you and also Marco, where you discuss the facts at that level, where you're understanding what events are happening within the business. And I like the example so that it's almost stored with the model.
Yeah, to be very honest, I think 5-6 years ago, I know Lawrence. I did his training. I had a lot of discussion with him, and I was well. We both were very much looking at, can we have the Lawrence Core Beam methodology, the model storming methodology, and all the stuff he's doing, and can I move from there towards a data vault model, Ensemble logical model? And the thing is, what I found, and that's, by the way, the same with what Marco was doing with FCOEM, and what we always did with Data Vault, and also what a little bit what Steve is doing as well on his way of modeling. It's all about that last part, how to get the relations going, how to identify the relations, and how to model the relationships. And it's not, and for Data Vault, it's very, very important. For Ensemble, the Ensemble logical models, very important how to model your relationships. And if you look at what Dimensional is doing, Dimensional doesn't care about relationships that much. They just have facts, and all Dimensional are related to period. And Marco is looking at full sentences, but he's almost like what we did first. Yeah, you know what, we have core-based concept. Oh, and by the way, this is how it relates to. Yeah, it's not completely there. So that's why I came up with something similar, yet different.
Right. It's nice to see that sort of commonality and then the little differences. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone has its place, and everybody.
Sure.
If you're completely onto dimensional modeling and don't want to do anything else than dimensional modeling, definitely do model storming with conform beam.
Yeah.
Works perfectly fine.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Guys, any questions? I thought it was tremendous. I really like the comments. I think people really relate to the methodology and like that interactive approach.
Absolutely.
Any questions from the audience? Max, anything from your side? It looks like he's gone. That's a pity.
Well, I am 20 minutes over time, right? You set until 5.
Yes, yes, but that seems to be our normal now. So really allowing people to ask the questions, I think it's important.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't seem to have any more questions, and I'd just like to thank you once again, Renko. I really like what you've done and put together. I like almost the technology independent approach and working with business and that interactive element. I think it's fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. And again, happy to share the slides and to come in again for any other discussion.
Yeah, that would be great. Really appreciate it. Yep. Thanks, Renko. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Howard. Thanks, Remco.
Thanks, Laura. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.